Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, patriots all over our country, that is under God. Welcome to tonight's Red America First Town Hall, the nation's most engaging platform where we, the people, run the show. Red for the blood of Christ, America First policies and candidates. And I'm your host, Ashley Weis. For 4 years, we stood as a beacon of unity and strength, draped in the symbolic red of our conviction, dedicated to the America First policies and the Christian values that our nation was founded on. Here, we gather not just to discuss, but to act, empowering our community through education, engagement, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Town Hall is igniting the conversations that matter, and we are at the forefront of a movement to ensure free and prosperous and vibrant future for all Americans.
And I'm your co-host, Valerie Weis. Tonight we're joined by Paul Renner, former Speaker of the Florida House, current member of State University System Board of Governors, and a 2026 Republican candidate for governor of Florida. A pro-Trump, pro-DeSantis conservative leader, Renner delivered historic wins on school choice, election integrity, and protecting Florida families. Do not miss his vision for Florida's future. And at 9, we will have David Sorensen, founder of StopWorldControl.com, exposing FEMA's alleged globalist plan for mass detention concentration camps discussed as relief sites and how Trump's Operation Warp Speed stopped it. Next Thursday at 8 p.m., we will be having retired Colonel Douglas Macgregor, our foreign policy analyst, to discuss Ukraine's collapse, Iran's red line, and Trump's fight to stop World War III. And at 9 p.m., we will have Charlotte O'Hara, Kansas gubernatorial candidate. She will be discussing her campaign. Join PastorsPoint this coming Monday at 8 p.m. They will be interviewing Kelly Tien, a faith-driven success coach, breast cancer survivor, and founder of Pray, Lead, Empower. She'll share how to conquer fear, silence overthinking, and lead with bold confidence in your God-given calling. PastorsPoint's goal is to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ, deepen understanding of God's word, and inspire believers to live by biblical truth.
We need some support from our viewers and those that have the will to help. Please visit and donate at givesandgo.com/RedAmericaFirst/donate. And those that want to join the live stream, we're looking to grow our live panel members. So you could have discussions with Paul Renner, or like next week with Colonel Douglas Macgregor and Kansas gubernatorial candidate Charlotte O'Hara. Additionally, participate in the famous state-to-state intel round. Sign up today at RedAmericaFirst.com and let us know that you want to be a state panel member. Like every episode of Town Hall, we start with prayer. We're going to call on Dr. Pastor Aaron Gray to lead us into prayer tonight. So please, members, please bow your heads as he leads us into prayer. Thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord God, I just come before your throne with all humbleness in our hearts. Lord, we come with meekness, Father, for we know that the meek are who inherit the earth, Father. So we come before you now, seeking your holy presence in our lives. Holy Spirit, we ask you to lead us in this discussion tonight. Lead us as we move forward, deciding and moving forward and what you want us to be, Father. Remind us that why we come here is not what we want. It's not about what we think, Father. It's about searching after, desiring what you want for this country, what you want for this people here and now, Lord. We want to lead them, move them, guide them towards you, to show them that you are the way, the truth, the life, Lord Jesus. And we thank you for that. So as we come, we ask you to remind us in our hearts, put it in our minds, Father, that give us eyes to see, ears to hear, and a spirit to know, Father, your will, your path, your direction, not just for our lives, Father, but where you want us to go and how you want us to lead those around us as we lead them towards you. In the name of Jesus, we all said, amen.
Amen.
Amen to that. We're going to call on co-founder of Red America First to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Valerie Weis, thank you so much.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. Thank you for that. We're going to call on Leslie Mahan Oklahoma State Chapter Leader to do the national anthem. Thank you in advance.
You're welcome, Ashley and Valerie. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, yea, prove through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Leslie. That was beautiful.
Amazing job, Leslie, as always. What a great way to start the introduction tonight with Paul Renner, gubernatorial candidate for Florida here. Let's go ahead and get him. I mean, what do you think of that introduction, sir? And thank you for coming on #Town Hall. Thank you.
It's great, and great national anthem, Leslie. You've got a great voice. Thank you, and thanks for having me. Just spend a few minutes and tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm running, and really don't want the state to go backwards. We've had a great 7 years. I was in the legislature for all of Governor DeSantis's term until this past November. We have a great situation with President Trump in the White House and Ron DeSantis as governor, but we don't want to go backwards, and we want to continue to build on the free state of Florida that I was an architect for. And so after a lot of prayer, I'm in the race. My service in public service started in the Navy when I was 23 on the deck of the USS Macgregor in Operation Desert Storm. The beginning of 20 plus years in the military in 2 wars. 20 years later, I was in Afghanistan with a unit, leading a unit to disrupt foreign fighter networks coming into Afghanistan. In between that, I was a prosecutor in Broward County, which for those that aren't from Florida would know that may not know that it's a place where you fight the defendant, the defense attorney, the judges, and some of the juries. It's a pretty liberal place, but we did it, like Rush Limbaugh says, with 2 hands tied behind my back just to make it fair. And we stood up for victims and put a lot of habitual and violent habitual offenders behind bars. And we will do just that when I'm governor and make sure that we're expediting death penalty cases. We had a guy that's going to be executed, raped and killed a 6-year-old girl. 40 years later, he's finally being executed, which is just simply too long. And so started a business, partnered in another business, and Speaker of the House for 2 of the most conservative and consequential years we've had. So that included balanced budgets, record tax relief, paying down debt early. I joke that no one will confuse us for the federal government. In Florida, we take care of business and guard the taxpayers' money. We passed universal school choice. We took care of public schools as well, and all schools to make sure kids have the very best education possible. We ended DEI programs at the university level. We stood for life in passing a heartbeat protection bill, ended transgender surgeries for minors, got boys out of girls' bathrooms. We made Florida one of the best states for law enforcement and one of the worst states if you were here in the country illegally or cheating in an election. We made sure to attack the insurance crisis that we had in Florida that was driving up our costs double digits every year in and year out. We tackled that. We see now in Florida auto rates going down, automobile insurance rates going down. for the first time in memory. It's not going down anywhere else in the country, and we're seeing now homeowners as well go down. We took on big tech, which is going after our kids to addict them to whether it's online pornography or just addictive technology on those platforms, to rescue them from spending 6-8 hours online a day that is really kind of wrecking their emotional health, and a lot of other things, constitutional carry, you name it, we did it. We passed a bill to make sure that I mentioned the death penalty, if you rape a child under 12 in Florida, we passed a bill to impose the death penalty, which is a challenge to the old Supreme Court precedent that would invalidate that. But now we have a new court, and we hope to put in front of that court a challenge which will allow for that to be upheld, and that's where those guys belong. If you hurt a child in Florida, the only part you'll see when I'm governor of Florida is the inside of a prison cell. And we did many, many other things to make sure that we're achieving conservative wins and making our state the best it can be. My motto is Florida first. That's what I'll do as governor, to go after affordability concerns, to make sure we continue to reform education, and we continue to fight the fight for freedom. What happened in New York City is a wake-up call that the battle that I fought abroad for our freedoms as a military veteran has come home, and we have to take it very seriously and redouble our efforts to make sure we win all these elections. These people cannot be in power. And so with that, I'd love to take some questions.
Thank you so much.
Well, Paul, you want Congress to repeal Obamacare and launch a health, freedom, and wellness initiative. Give us one concrete example of a costly federal mandate you'd eliminate on day one in Florida, regain control, and how much you would project that would lower monthly premiums for our family, for like a family of four.
Sure. And I don't know the number, but I know it would be cheaper. And so the problem with Obamacare is my wife and I just bought an oven, and it comes with some fancy features that we'll never use, but we paid for it. And that's Obamacare. Because of the mandates, it puts all of us overpay for our health insurance. And what we know about Obamacare is it's been wrong on every promise it made. You can keep your doctor, false. Your premiums will go down, false. Your deductibles will go down or stay the same, false. And so it's gone up faster than people's income year over year. And so we do not need to subsidize failure. We need to tear it down, make sure we're returning power to the states. And I agree with President Trump that money that's being allocated should be sent to you and me, we the people, to make decisions about shopping our health care. And when we do that and we're in the driver's seat, people will compete for our business and they will offer us cheaper health insurance. And we can help people that need it, certainly, but we want to make sure that we're getting these heavy-handed socialist mandates out of the system, and that will help a lot. On the issue of health freedom and wellness, this is also about mandates and making sure parents are in the driver's seat for their kids' health care. And so we've seen a plethora of vaccines, from the 10 we had when I was a young kid, that all the things that would kill you, to 50, 60 of these things that are recommended by the CDC and mandated by our Department of Health, some of which, you'll get sick, you'll get immunity, you'll be fine. And the question is, should we be giving all these vaccines in a short period of time, earlier and earlier for kids? I don't think so. And certainly want to make sure that it's parents and pediatricians that make those decisions, not the CDC and pediatricians. And so we eliminate vaccine mandates as part of that initiative. We will also make sure that we give people an opportunity for alternatives like a naturopathy or an integrative medicine or functional medicine that focuses more on wellness and metabolic health, making sure we have healthy meals for our kids and get some of the junk out of the schools, and make sure they have healthy options, partnering with our farmers. We have a physical fitness program, a governor's physical fitness program, which I'll create to make sure our kids have a healthy play-based childhood, and they can get out on the playground and run around and do pull-ups and push-ups and have fun and do those kinds of things to make sure that we have a long and healthy life, but we also to protect freedom. And what I said during that rollout is that COVID was the biggest infringement on civil liberties in American history. And as governor, I will never, ever let that happen again. And so that's what health freedom is all about, is making sure we put you in control of your health care, not the government, not the CDC, not anybody else but you.
Thank you. That was awesome. Love it already. As a Navy veteran and former House Speaker, you helped make Florida the free state with landmark wins on school choice and protecting kids from big tech overreach, kind of what you just kind of talked about. With families still facing high costs, how will your governorship build on these successes to make Florida the nation's top destination for opportunity and strong parental rights?
Well, on the cost standpoint, we talked about Obamacare a little bit, some of the other things to try to bring down cost. On insurance, we took a big swing, as I mentioned, at removing litigation abuse that was driving up our insurance rates, and we see that coming down now. We need to do more. There's more we can do there, I believe, to continue to lower what is some of the most expensive insurance in the country still. And so we still need to bring that down. And then with respect to property taxes, once again, property taxes in Florida have grown twice as fast as the rest of the nation. They've grown much faster than people's incomes, and government, as a fundamental matter, government should not grow faster than our incomes can afford. And that's not how this was supposed to be set up, where government just takes whatever it wants and we're supposed to pay the bill endlessly. And so we need to bring that back in line, give some people some immediate relief, and then talk about whether we want to do bigger reforms like eliminating property tax with some replacement for police and fire and that type of thing that we need at the local level, which is what it funds here in Florida. But those are things. And then with parental rights, we have part of the healthy initiative that you asked about earlier is to make sure parents are in control of what happens with their kids' medical and mental health in schools. Again, when I was in school, you went to the nurse, you got a Band-Aid, you got an aspirin, you got a thermometer for a fever, and if you had a fever, they called your mom to come pick you up. And now it's all kinds of things that go well beyond that. And it's happening oftentimes with a situation where we're not going to tell your parents, where you hear these stories where a parent goes in with their 14-year-old and they ask the kid, like, do you want your parent to be here as we continue the checkup? And if they don't say yes, or even getting access to their records in Florida, at least, parent has to be excused. And so we want to make sure parents are in the driver's seat when their kids are young, and when they become adults, they do adult things. But as children, parents need to be in the driver's seat, and we'll make sure to protect parental rights when I'm speaker and when I'm governor. I was speaker. When I was speaker, we
Yeah,
protected them. We're going to protect them some more as governor.
Nice. Absolutely.
You led the charge on election integrity, passing strong reforms with overwhelming support. As we head into 2026, what specific actions will you take as governor to keep Florida's elections secure, transparent, and trusted, ensuring every legal vote is counted and protected from outside interference?
Well, first of all, we're never going to do what some states, and I know we got some people from around the country that have same-day voter registration, that have all absentee, like mail-in ballot elections. That is a recipe for disaster, or allow for, illegals or not have voter ID. We have all those things. We have voter ID. We don't allow for, we have show up voting. We also do have absentee and no cause absentee. So I think we can look at possibly bringing that back into line with people that are limited, they have a legitimate out of town situation, or, they're disabled. They can't physically get to the polls. But the idea of no cost, I think, is problematic in the sense that I think that's where the fraud happens. When you have a voter ID system, you show up in person, you have to see somebody, they see your picture, they see my face, you put down a fingerprint, you should do some things that prove you are who you say you are. And we cross, make sure we have clean voter rolls when you walk in to know you can vote. That's how you get a safe and fair and clean election, not by letting people, pass around absentee ballots and hope for the best. And so those are some of the reforms that I would like to see us undertake. We had tougher measures so that if you do cheat in an election here in Florida, while I was speaker, we passed laws to make sure that we have jurisdiction for our statewide prosecutor to put you in jail. And we want to continue to crack down on some of these petition initiatives, citizen review initiatives, where we've seen people submit false petitions to get on the constitutional ballot. That's another area where we need to pursue those people and prosecute them. And once you do that, you'll start to create some deterrence against it in the future. But we want to look at any and all options to make sure our elections are fair, and harder to cheat than they are today. But Florida's pretty good, but we can certainly improve. I will give you that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're going to get ready. Those that are in the audience, live stream audience, we open up to panel members here on #Town Hall to be able to engage with Paul Renner, the governor candidate of Florida. So we're going to open it up soon. Go ahead, Valerie. Thank you.
Okay. You promised no in-state tuition increases in universal school choice scholarships. If enrollment surges 20% because of choice, how will you fund the scholarships without raising taxes or shifting dollars away from traditional public schools?
Well, the traditional public school kid, the average cost per kid is about $15,000. The scholarship's about eight. And so, in truth, if a kid were to leave a public school and go to either homeschool, private school, there's a whole unbundling process. But if they left altogether, the taxpayers actually save substantially. And the little secret is if even before our universal choice, if the people that were already on choice programs all went back into traditional public schools, it would cause huge tax increases. We'd really be talking about hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. And so it's really the reverse. There's been a narrative here in Florida that, well, all these kids are leaving schools and they're all going on the scholarship. But when you dig into the numbers, that's just not true. Some of those people are frankly illegals who have either gotten picked up, families have gotten picked up, or they're not going to school because they're afraid of getting picked up. People after COVID, there's been a huge uptick in homeschooling, and the scholarships available for them as well. But they've left, and some of these homeschool parents also do not take the scholarship. They don't want any government money whatsoever. That's their right in Florida to do it the way they want to do it. And so again, that student that leaves a public school to go to homeschool and doesn't get the scholarship, that's not the fault of the scholarship. And it also saves money because that's one more kid we're not educating at $15,000 a year. But bottom line is we want every kid, public school, charter school, private, homeschool, to have a world-class education. And the scholarship introduces competition, so everybody has to up their game. Every business should have an entrance and an exit. And if you're doing a good job, people hit the entrances. If they do a bad job, they hit the exits. And that's the way it should be in everything, especially for our kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your long-term plan includes a voter path to fully eliminate homestead property taxes while protecting schools and public safety. Sketch the funding bridge. What new revenue source or spending cut would replace roughly, let's say, 11 billion homestead taxes currently for you to generate?
Well, this is the thing. I think we can do some meaningful relief for property taxes without any replacement. But if you're going to eliminate all of that, in some counties, in Clay County at least, all the property taxes go to fund our sheriff's office there. And so, people are not going to like that if they're calling 911 and people are not showing up. And so you'd have to find some replacement. Doesn't mean you have to replace all of it, but you have to at least cover, public safety, key firefighters, that kind of thing that people are going to want to keep in place. And so you'd have to find some replacements, and property taxes are very broad. And so it's hard. You'd have to find a lot of other taxes that are not as broad to make up for that revenue. And there's various suggestions that have been made. One representative that's talked about tax on real estate transactions on the front end. So you wouldn't pay the taxes once you got into your home, but you'd have some payment that would go straight to police, or a sales tax, 1 or 2% that would go to for the schools that property taxes are used for. That kind of thing would be options on the table that voters could decide. Do you want to do this swap? Or are you taking one problem and creating another where you don't want to do that? But getting rid of all of it without any backfill is going to be really difficult to get to 60%, because you'll have all your local sheriffs and firefighters and everybody else coming out and saying, hey, you're defunding the police now.
Wow. Very good answer there. Now, those that are watching live stream, we're going state to state. And the first question is coming from Rosemarie, our magazine editor-in-chief. Go ahead with your question, Rosemarie. Thank you so much.
Well, I hope you're our governor-to-be. Thank you immensely for everything you are doing and your conservative agenda. I learned through Annie Delgado that you are defending HOA residents to protect their rights from the overreaching HOAs and the draconian rules affecting them. Therefore, I would like to know if you would be receptive to a plan to reform our HOAs from a group that I am working with. For example, allowing artificial plantings that conform to the community and are environmentally friendly for our delicate ecosystems, our aquifer and the waterways. In addition, to defer these HOAs from superseding authority of insurance companies, for example, roof replacement and so forth. Also, would you be willing to give us a page or two for our monthly news our magazine, which we send out to numerous people. Thank you so very, very much.
Yeah, I'd be happy to try to give you a statement for the magazine if you'll reach out through Annie to contact us, and we can put something together. On HOAs, look, I think it'd be a good idea to do what we did with some of the public sector unions, which is we require recertification. I think, I have to run for office when I was in the legislature every 2 years. And if I'm not doing a good job, you don't recertify me, so to speak. You don't reelect me. And why wouldn't HOAs have something every, maybe it's every 5 years. I don't know what it is. But if you have an HOA that's abusive, and you have a small group that's kind of dictating stuff for people, then I think the community has a right to decide to dissolve that HOA if they see fit. But what we did in the legislature was put some limits on some of the crazy things they could do. You had, Granny out there with a speed gun, and they're writing speeding tickets to people, like they're the cops. And so these kinds of things that just get, and you hear these horror stories. An HOA should be a shield, not a sword, is the way I think about it. Is, okay, you can't do a pink polka dotted house, but you don't micromanage people and say, well, you got a rose, got roses in your yard. I like bird of paradise. So you need to plant a bird of paradise because I like bird of paradise. That's not what private property is all about. And so that's more like a sword telling you you're going to do what we want, not, just simply defending the community against somebody who hasn't cut their grass for 2 months. And so I think, that's kind of why I think these HOAs were created, to have some uniformity and whatnot. So, but they got to behave themselves. And if it becomes like government gone wild, then there's got to be accountability. And that's what we did in two separate bills while I was speaker, and didn't get as far as I wanted to get. But we did do some significant revisions to hold them accountable for misfeasance if they, take money and all that kind of stuff, which was happening in some HOAs as well.
We're going to go now to our Oklahoma State chapter leader, Leslie Mahan. She's going to go ahead with the question. Go ahead, Leslie. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show tonight, Paul. My question to you is, I don't know if you heard about this that happened in my state in October. A mother of a special needs child, a 17-year-old who has leukemia, was taken from the mother's care by force because a family member complained about how he was being cared with natural stuff, like homeopathic type treatments that were actually working. They kidnapped him, put him in the hospital, gave him a blood transfusion, and mind you, he's autistic. And the mother is now in a court battle, and Tom Renz, who has been on our show before, he is taking on their case. What would you do if something like this happened in your state?
Well, I mentioned our Health, Freedom, and Wellness Initiative, and it's for that very kind of thing. Is that, and I've heard other horror stories about, someone who was going in for a sprained ankle. They tested positive for COVID. This was during COVID, and they wouldn't let him out. And the family's like, give him back to us. We want to try some alternative medicine, was it ivermectin or whatever it was, and they wouldn't let him go. And then he ultimately passed in the hospital. And so, this is the very kind of thing that, at the end of the day. You know, we're either, we fought a revolution for a reason or we didn't. And to fight a revolution, to have the same crowd that gave us COVID lockdowns, who gave us Obamacare, who gave us vaccine, all these mandates, is they believe they ought to run every aspect of our life. And even if I disagree with your choice, it's your choice. And, as long as it's not outright child abuse, we're not going to obviously allow that. But the fact that you're taking alternative therapies to try to get better, and somebody's decided for us that you're not going to be able to do that, I think we're starting to learn that a lot of the food and a lot of things that we're told are safe and effective are neither. And so I just think that freedom's got to reign in that situation. That's what we would have it in our health freedom bill. Can't hear you.
Ashley, you're on mute.
Now we're going to call on Victoria, our Hawaii state leader. Go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Aloha, Paul.
Aloha.
Thanks for coming on. So I'm really involved with election integrity and accessibility. And I know there are people who can't actually get out to vote. How do you see accommodations for people who actually physically can't get out and vote, but want to vote happening?
Well, no, I think we need to do that. I mean, I think, you know, the mantra of easier to vote, harder to cheat is right. We want to make sure that someone who, and I was with a guy today, he's 103 years old. He's a veteran of World War II, Korea, Vietnam. And if that guy can't get to the polls, by God, I want to get him an absentee ballot so he can vote. But I want that ballot to be secure enough that it's not being passed around 5 times or voted by someone else. And so that's really the challenge. But we don't want to say to disabled people that you just can't vote because you can't get to the polls. I wouldn't support that, but I think that I am receptive to going back to a for-cause system, which Florida had before, because it limits the number of absentee ballots that are floating out there, and therefore limits the number of absentee ballots that can be fraudulently voted. And I think there needs to be caution in nursing homes and things of that nature to make sure that people, are not having somebody over their shoulder vote a straight ticket for them when they've been a lifelong Republican and they're voting, for Kamala Harris. That's a concern. And I think, we just have to be careful about it. And look, the goal is, I don't know that you're ever going to prevent all of it, but you have to prevent it from a widespread standpoint, so that elections are, and I lost my first race by 2 votes. So nobody cares more about, the importance of a vote than me, and knows that, if you cheated 3 votes, and that those went the other way, I would have won my election, and I'm not saying that happened in my election, but it's just the case that you've got to make sure that each and every ballot is secure, because any single illegal vote means your vote or my vote just got canceled by someone who wasn't supposed to be voting. So it's a very serious thing, and we take it seriously here in Florida.
Thank you for that question, Victoria. We're going to stay in Hawaii and go to our corruption pillar leader, Megeso. Go ahead. Thank you.
Aloha from tyrannical Hawaii. As governor, what programs could you introduce to return the people to single income family, where one parent could be home to raise and school our own children, as opposed to unknown outside environments or people that government forced us into, that allowed corporations to double their prices due to double our incomes?
I'm not sure I got all of that. Was a question about schools? And then
it's returning to the single income family where one parent is at home.
I got you. Okay.
Raising their children.
Yeah, look, I mean, that we're so far from that right now that even 2 parents working is not enough to cover costs. And this is a factor of overspending in Washington, D.C., borrowing money, printing money, borrowing money from China, if we're being honest, largely. And that's caused everybody's standard of living to go down. There's just no 2 ways about it. And we've done a lot of things with tax relief and other things to try to help cover costs, because I do want it to be the case that, and I'm in that case, my wife, we have 2 young kids. She's home with the kids, and that's a super important job. It's the most important job between the 2 of us. And, but it's a struggle for us because, we have that 1 income instead of 2. Everything's expensive. And I don't know how people do it that make substantially less than I do. I mean, how do you make it? And so, I'd love to tell you I have a lot of solutions other than, we've got to make sure we're enforcing immigration laws. We've got to make sure that we don't have a dumping of cheap labor on our workforce so that people's wages can be supported. We have to stop printing money in DC and start balancing budgets up there, which will really help. And so that people's incomes, again, can kind of catch up with the inflation and everything that's happened. And we can be back in a situation, but we're far from it right now, I'll be real honest. And I don't see anything there's no light switch that I could flip at the state level that would change that unless the federal government stops its irresponsible spending and borrowing.
Thank you, Megeso, for that question. We're going to come back to Florida and go to our tax pillar leader, Mike Valerie. Go with your question, Mike. Thank you so much.
Hey, Paul. Give me 3 reasons why you would be a better governor than Byron Donalds, who's running against you.
Sure. To lead to the third is it's a big leadership role, the third largest state in the country. You have to have had some leadership experience. My leadership experience, not just with Byron, but anybody else that's talking about getting in the race, is significantly deeper. And I mentioned it already. My time in the military, prosecutor, business owner, successful speaker, and also the second piece is results. We've been in about the same period of time, and you can look at what I've accomplished and actually delivered in the way of results. We all talk, we all do interviews, we give speeches, and Byron gives a good speech. I think I do. I think I give a good interview. He gives a good interview, and I appreciate him for that. But that is not the kind of results I'm talking about. I'm talking about, rather than just talking about red meat, putting it on the grill and cooking it and serving it up for dinner. And we did that for the 2 years I was speaker. We delivered one conservative home run after the next. And so if you're looking for somebody who can get it done and can actually go in like President Trump, like our current governor, Governor DeSantis, and get it done, that's what I'll do, because I have a track record, and I'm not a question mark about how I'll be as governor given the absence of that record.
And what was the third reason?
The third reason really is, who do you trust the most? Not who do you trust, but who do you trust the most? Because I'll tell you, I think the challenges are only going to get bigger, not smaller, in the coming years. And so part of that flows, I said, as a 1 and 2, is who's got the leadership experience to handle it, who's been under positions of trust. I've been in 2 wars and positions of trust under pressure my whole life, and who can get it done. And I've gotten it done in ways that none of the other candidates, frankly, come close. And so you can trust me for whatever comes. That's number 3. I lost you again, Ashley.
Our California state leader, Christian, go ahead with your question. Christian, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Renner. I have a question about this transferable loans that Trump has been talking about. What's your opinion on being able to transfer a low mortgage rate from your current home to a home that you're buying? I think that's in my opinion, I think it's a great thing, but I wanted to know what your thoughts on that are.
I have to think about that, because I had not heard the president talk about that. I did hear him talk about the 50-year mortgages. I'm not a fan of that. I'll be honest, because I think you're indebted forever. The interest on that is horrible. I know he's trying to look for lower payments. That would be a great model. The problem is I think what you're going to see, though, is the bank then knows that not only could the collateral be the house you have now, but it could be some other collateral they don't like as well. That's going to get priced into the loan, and I think it could cause, I think you gotta look at that. And I guess what you could do is you could have an option where you can have it portable or not portable, right? And if there's a premium you pay, you're paying for that. And so then you know that you can carry it if you like. I've got a fantastic rate, and I don't want to leave because I would lose that rate. I don't want to refinance because I would lose that rate. So if the bank would go along with it, I have no problem with it. I think it would be a pretty cool thing, because that would mean you're not stuck in your home. But I think, just thinking out loud, the banks would likely price it higher, whether through closing cost or higher interest, because they know that they don't have control over what your collateral is. They got to presumably take that next home that they may not like for whatever reason, older home, it's on the coast, it's hurricane area, earthquake area, you're out in California, that they say, well, wait a minute, this is more risky for us than the home you had before. That's where I could think that if I'm lending you money, that would be a concern, but you can price for that and you can decide. That's how I would handle it, is like, let you have either or, not portable or portable, and you decide, based on whatever they present you. So I don't have a problem with it. I'd never heard of it until you just mentioned it.
Thank you for that.
I'm answering you on the fly here a little bit.
Thank you for that, Christian. We're going to go to Rosemary in a second. Mike Valerie, one go back question for you. We'll go to Rosemary. Go ahead.
So my understanding, Annie Delgado is now your manager and she's supporting you.
She is supporting me.
You got my vote. I love Annie.
We love
She,
Annie.
she supported me when I ran for Congress. So if she's behind you, I think you're going to do phenomenal.
We are doing phenomenal, and Annie's a big part of that. We appreciate her very much.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You got my vote.
Thanks for that, Mike. Rosemary, go with your question. 30 seconds. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. You didn't answer part of my question before. If you would be receptive to accepting some information, we are doing an extensive research and recommendation report for, practical reforms in an HOA.
Oh, yeah,
And
sure.
oh, good, because
Yeah.
I could give it to Annie. I've
Yeah.
worked very closely with Annie.
Yeah,
and
please.
Conservative Watch, and I would very much like to offer that to you, and I would thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, we love that. And there's some good members in the House and I think in the Senate too that are really on this issue. They will still be there when I'm governor, at least for the first couple years, and we can tee that up. I do want to do more reform in this area, so I would absolutely welcome that information through Annie. You gotta get me elected first, and then in 2027, we'd get inaugurated and have our first session. We can start tackling those issues.
Paul, remind me in your naval years, do you recall working with any OSs?
Absolutely.
Okay. I was one of the best.
Yeah, that means you're smart. You did good on your ASVAB.
Yes,
That's
sir.
a great rating.
Yes. Well, we're blessed to have you come on and share what your candidacy looks like for Florida. And here on Town Hall, we'd like you to come back and maybe we could do another episode with you in the future. Maybe bring other gubernatorial candidates and have you guys debate live here on Town Hall. What do you think?
Sure, I'm always up for it.
Okay.
Hoorah, hoorah.
Get them all together, I'll be there.
Hoorah. I'd like to be able to contact you directly. So ask Annie or let Annie know
Sure.
it's okay, and we'll talk directly, and
Sure.
would love to work with you and help you out. Get you
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for your time. God bless you. Thanks. Have a great night.
Hoorah.
too.
You have a
Thank
good
you.
day, Paul.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Now, that's Paul Renner, guys. So the gubernatorial candidate, the Florida race is going to heat up. We're going to have a lot to talk about related to that. So let me get Mike up here, McGay. So, gosh, we're going to have to get Rob Ohio's. He's going to be on a restriction for a couple weeks because he's tardy. You can't be tardy on an 8 o'clock showing when we have, special next Thursday. Come at 8 o'clock, not 9 o'clock. Come at 8 o'clock next Thursday. Mike, how did you think Paul did? He's running for the big slot, and we're gonna hear Trump's gonna change his tune, who he's gonna get behind. How did you think Paul did tonight?
Well, actually, I think I did good. That's why I asked him the question, why you? What are the 3 reasons? And he gave the best reasons possible: better leadership experience and results. Everybody wants results and needs leadership. And trust, that's also very important. And I think that he would make a good governor.
Okay. Well, let's get some reaction to from some other Florida people. I'm calling on Tom and Jill. Let's see if you guys can unmute. What did you think? You guys live in Florida. Tom, what did you think? McGay, while we're waiting for Jill and Tom, how did you think Paul did? Over. Thank you.
Yeah, he's very, very well educated, very astute, and I like what he was talking about. So,
okay, let's call on another Floridian. Amaro, you could change your screen actually up and down. You have to have the orientation when you join the Zoom, but it's okay. Let me unmute you and you tell me how you like this candidate for governor for Florida. Go ahead.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
It's a pleasure being here with you guys. I think Speaker Renner did a great job in his presentation and his speech. Um, so I like to also add something as a pro-business candidate. I really like some of the messaging he had, and especially when it comes to the property tax reduction on the homestead. We can look to, as we bring in more industry on my 70-page economic plan, which I will share with you guys, as we bring in more industry into the state of Florida and we create higher paying jobs, not just service job, but we bring in manufacturing, we bring in a lot of other diversification in our economy, we're able to offset a lot of that cost through corporate investments. Reducing the amount of government we have involved. So we can create a lot of private-public partnerships. And I believe that Speaker Renner is on point with that in his messaging. So it's going to be tough decisions to make because again, you have Byron, then you have a possibility of a friend, Jay Collins, coming into this, and that's another solid veteran, great leader, and so it's going to be tough choices here in the state of Florida.
It will be a very tough choice. Rosemarie, you're not going to be quiet tonight. What do you think of this interview? Go ahead. Oh, she's not there.
Unmute. I just unmuted. Well, I thought he was able to articulate very well with regard to the issues, the problems, and the solutions. He was very clear about it. And I think he would do far better in a debate with Byron Donalds than, you would think. So I think he has an upper hand here.
Okay, let's go to Victoria. Victoria, what did you think about the interview? Go ahead. What say you? And then we'll go to Leslie too.
I think he's got some great ideas about being fair and election integrity. And I mean, you don't know a man's intentions until you see them in action. So I like what I hear. I think seeing him in action and following, his progress along the way will definitely prove to be insightful.
Thank you for that. Leslie, you're in the fire, in Oklahoma, and you see what's going on. The rhinos attacking every state, by the way.
Yeah.
What do you think about Paul Renner? Go ahead.
I thought, okay, hang on. I'm on mute. Okay, never mind. I thought he did great. He was very articulate, and he did a good job answering my question because I don't think that's just happening in my state. I think it's happening in other states. And we can't stand for that. I mean, that is, in my mind, that's government overreach at its finest. And just because this mother stands up for freedom, she was a target. I mean, she's part of Moms for Liberty chapter in her area. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought you did a great job. I know in my state, things are ramping up. We have, I think now 6 candidates running for governor, and I definitely still think we should get Jake Merrick on the show. He's the one that we want for our state. He's the one we need for our state.
We'll get him lined in. Don't worry about that. We'll get him lined in. The primary is a year long, guys. We got a long time. we got about a year minus a week.
Get him in like January, February, because we're kind of
so let's see what Annie says. Annie, thank you for getting Paul on tonight. Let's see if Annie can unmute. Maybe she's having difficulty. It's all right. We'll just go to the intel round now. Mike, what's a topic you want to bring up tonight? Because I'm fired up. I want to bring up something that's going to make MAGA mad at me for a week.
What do you think about me as the IRS commissioner?
Well, you should do it. We support it. Let's
Yeah.
let's get you let's get a show scheduled. What you gonna do, and let's promote it. You know, because you are our tax pillar leader. So go to RedAmericaFirst.com/pillar/taxes, and yeah, Mike Valari's our tax pillar leader. We're gonna help solve your IRS challenges. But Mike, seriously, what's in the intel round tonight? What's hot?
Well, just like I said, I want to apply for the job. I hope to have an interview next month. So that position has not been filled. They've been through 5 IRS commissioners. The IRS has been pretty much defunded to a large part, so nobody wants the job. There's a lot of issues with it, but I think with my experience having been, an agent for them for 22 years and worked helping people solve their IRS issues 15 years, I might be the right fit for it.
Mhm.
Well, like I said, let's get you on town hall and let's promote you.
Yeah.
What's another intel topic you want to bring up at the national level for all of our viewers tonight, Mike?
Well, I think the biggest one is voter integrity, because I think they're finding fraud in the New York City election. And if we don't get that right, we're going to have communists and jihadists taking over all these positions throughout our country. Governors, mayors, congressmen, senators. And it is the goal of Islam to take over a country. There's enough of them here for now them to execute their plan. It's not only happening in New York City, it's happening in Seattle, it's happening in Minnesota, it's happening in Michigan. And if we don't stop it, we will lose this nation.
Mhm. I agree.
There's no argument there, and it's spreading like wildfire. I actually have a report that it's got 13 small towns in Connecticut. It's spreading in New Jersey. It's spreading in 3 communities in Maine. So Mike's right. Mageso, what's the topic you want to bring up tonight?
Well, we're still big on illegal immigration on the heels of our 44 people getting arrested in Kauai. It turns out that in the town of Kalaheo, 20 Venezuelans were living in 2 houses.
Oh my gosh.
So here on a small island, that's quite a concern. And the fact that they also get Section 8 housing and on the SNAP program, so that takes away from the locals. And so that's our focus, is to clean up the streets, if you would, and so people in Kauai can thrive.
Okay. Amaro, what's an intel topic at the national level you think we should discuss tonight? Go ahead.
All right. Can everybody hear me? Am I muted?
Mhm.
All right. I think a very important topic on the national level. I think we need to start crushing these human trafficking networks. A lot of them have to do with the illegals and pushing, taking advantage of our kids, taking our women and taking our children off the street. So we need to start. What we need to start doing is, I like what somebody brought up about somebody being in prison for 40 years, then finally seeing justice. We need to start amplifying these sentences, and actually, I know law enforcement is very, very law enforcement. You do commit a crime and then they react, right? It's very reactive. I think we need to start seeing proactive enforcement and just start smashing these networks. I know we're doing a great job already, but when we start, I'm going to call this a cancer. When we start attacking this at the sources, and the penalizations are mind bending, I really believe that a nation that can't take care of their weakest, the most vulnerable, is not a nation, correct? So anything having to do with children, anything having to do with our women and most vulnerable, I believe on the national level we need to tackle with the highest level of priority.
Amen. That's a good topic. Ron, Nevada, you seemed really eager to bring up something. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to piggyback what Mike said about this invasion. And the only way to get anything done is to make the people that make laws aware of the situation. And they're the ones that can pass the laws to restrict this invasion. But I think they need to be told to do that, because how else are we going to stop it? I mean, Dallas, Texas is their epicenter, you know. They're very strong in Texas from what I understand. So it's a very serious threat and it's happening. And unless our Congress gets a hold of it, it's going to take over. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Ron. Christian, what do you think about an intel topic for the week? Go ahead.
I think that I'm going to say something that's probably going to shock most people. I think that we should focus more on Department of the Interior. And the reason why is that you have to change laws and the mindset of the people that are in control of the laws that restrict and actually put handcuffs on businesses so that they can actually create jobs. And one of the things that I'm very concerned about is the resources and resource management. So allowing people to actually mine some of these rare earths, and we need to end some of the restrictions on the mining, and we need to make it easier for our industries to pick up and create jobs and get us away from dependency on third world countries and China. And if we can help our infrastructure build, and that will probably be the best thing to help the economy out. Not only is it just mining, it's ending restrictions on fishing. To actually, they collect money on fishing licenses, yet they put minimal effort into funding things like fish hatcheries and water cleanup. And they should be using that money to do those things rather than ignoring them. Same thing with hunting, allowing areas and certain specific types of animals to be hunted. I mean, we have an overpopulation of mountain lions here, and it's devastating the deer herds, but you never hear that. It's always, oh, the poor mountain lion, but we're overpopulated with them. So
Wow.
I think that they really need to spend more time focused on environmental issues and stopping some of these handcuff restricted laws that have been imposed on states and the federal government lands.
Thank you for that, Christian. Victoria, you wanted to chime in real fast, and then I'm going to call on Brett.
I did.
And then I'm going to call on others. So go ahead, Victoria, and Brett, stand by and get ready. Others I'm going to call on you. Go ahead, Victoria.
So, Ron, I want to ask you, do you think that government doesn't know that trafficking is already going on?
Trafficking, I'm talking about the Muslim invasion.
Okay. So just Muslims, or, I mean, we were talking about women and children and.
Yeah, I'm sure they have an idea because there's so many women and children missing, 300,000 or some ungodly number of women and children missing, and they keep going missing.
let's not forget the planned attacks next month that we learned last week's show. And you know, it makes a lot of sense when you look back why Obama, why Biden and Harris had the border wide open, because our country is getting ready to have irregular warfare right on our lands, and it's going to be an attack in December. I pray that we're all resilient, right, and we're all watching our six and telling other brothers and sisters in Christ not to believe the government, that everything's okay, not to worry. You need to be leaving the house with your weapons. You need to stop pretending that we're in the 60s and the 70s and 80s. We're not. We're in 2025, and there's attacks happening almost every single day. You can't even walk on the street. People are getting ran over every day. I got reports. This kid got ran over. That kid got ran over. It's getting really, really out of hand. So good point, Victoria. Ron, good feedback there. Brett, what's a national thing you want to bring up this week? And gosh, we missed you in the first hour. We had Paul Renner, the Florida gubernatorial candidate. All those special things come on at 8, but next week come on at 8 o'clock.
Colonel Macgregor will be on.
Wow. Yeah. I had an unfortunate conflict of my schedule, which I will also have a conflict next Thursday. I look forward to watching the review of this. Thanks for taping it.
Yeah.
As far as national, yeah, there's a lot of things going on out there, and what everybody's already brought to the forefront, I don't know that I could add to it. The only thing that's on my mind right now is how can we work with our community? How can we bolster our own community? Because whatever happens at the national level is happening at the grassroots level. And these issues, we talk about Muslim invasion or child trafficking, and these aren't just at a long distance. These are in our backyards. It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening. And I just learned, I ran into a friend, I haven't seen her in a while, and she's being doxxed and followed by, somehow she got involved with a child trafficking ring adjacent to her property. And now, like, she's off grid. I can't even talk to her. So
That's
really
awful.
reach out. Oh, it's
being
tragic.
Being doxxed, it's like it's
Yeah.
it's madness.
Right. So what can we do? Well, we can't do anything about Venezuela, but making sure that you're working with your community, your church. What are the things that you're getting out of your house and helping others? And that way, when it does start becoming more of a problem, you've got your network. And that's the only way that we're going to overcome this. And it has to be lawfully, legally, and lovingly, because what the enemy is doing is using our laws and our compassion against us. And if we lose our compassion, then we lose everything. So
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
On that note, you guys could see my screen, right, Brett?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, everyone watching live, go to RedAmericaFirst.com. Okay, you could go to any one of our pillars. What interests you the most? We have tax, we have resiliency, Christian, candidate, health, finance. But in resiliency specifically, that's what Brett leads. We're looking to build a network of patriots all over our nation, because there's going to be a natural disaster. There's going to be some kind of emergency situation that we don't know it's coming, but it'll come. And we need, just exactly what Brett said, communities to work together. And you sign up, and we're building that, a community all over our nation, so we can just pick up the phone and be like, get ready, something's coming. Because I am not trusting FEMA anymore. I don't want my patriots all over this nation that's getting hit by some emergency situation waiting for help when we, the people, can help. Dr. Gray, thank you for leading us into prayer tonight. How how was your take on Dr. Renner on Paul Renner, the candidate for Florida, and what do you think we should talk about at the national level tonight? Thank you so much, Pastor Gray. Thank you.
Well, I thought he was very good. I do like a lot of his ideas, and I think the main thing is continuing what they have in Florida is going to be big for that state. There's a lot of things that have been brought in by DeSantis that have been good, and as he said, if he continues that path and not backing down, that's going to be. I think Florida could be a great example of what other states should do and follow. As for the national level, what we should talk about. I know you guys talk about a lot of the invasions and things going on there, and the child thing, and that's definitely something that needs to be talked about. But here's the truth. I mean, there's only so much we as civilians can do in those situations. That's going to be handled by those whose job it is to handle those things. I'm not saying we can't help. We can do what we can there, but there is only a level that we can go to. National level for us that we can really help at is trying to build and as Brother Brett said, the communities, trying to cross the bridges, the divides that we have that has been so prevalent in this nation for far too long. There's a lot of hate from one side to the other and from the other side to the next in this country, and the country is never going to heal. It's never going to move forward if we keep elevating and escalating those situations. So I think I think that's something that we should talk about in ways to try to bridge, because here's the thing, the government's never going to do anything. They're always going to talk about the other side of the aisle and demean them and dehumanize them. And because they want us at each other's throats, they want us having those same agendas, because it's easier for them to control us if we have that. If we have that mindset, if we dehumanize them and they dehumanize us, then they have us in the palm of their hands, and we are not a nation at that point. And we are supposed to be a nation. We are supposed to be a melting pot of people who might not agree on everything, but can come together and work together moving forward. And right now, looking across this nation, you don't see that. What you see is hate, attack, villainization of anybody who differs from you slightly. I know some friends of mine who are who they're not Republican. They kind of vote Democratic, but they're not complete socialists. And they were completely attacked because they're not complete socialists by their own party. And then you got people on the Republican side, because we might not agree with everything there. Again, the same thing happening. We cannot live like that. We cannot be attacking first of all, attacking our own people. Second of all, treating the other side like they're not humans, because the fact is they are. They are our brothers and sisters in this nation that we call, which is supposed to be great. And how can a nation be great if it is divided?
Amen to that. Dr. Gray, you're absolutely right. I'm going to bring up a couple sensitive topics that I brought up this week on social media. And you would say in the social media world, I got jumped. People didn't like what I said. People think that I'm a liberal now after the things that I brought up. And I'm just going to lay it out. Okay, World Economic Forum. We've talked about this organization on the platform many times in the past, especially in the intel round. Mike, you're moving around a lot. Are you with us?
Yeah.
You heard of the World Economic Forum, right?
Absolutely, of course.
Okay, just checking. Amaro, you've heard of them too, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Dr. Gray, you've heard of them too, right?
Yes.
All right. So those that are listening on the live stream, the World Economic Forum is people part of the 1% community. Yes. That they meet and they scheme and they collaborate and they come up with ideas to change the future. One of the ideas in recent months and recent years is we're going to eat the bugs and we're going to like it. Another idea that they had is we are going to own nothing.
Yep.
And be proud of it. And I'm here to tell you, I love Trump from here to China and back. China. But I will remind you, the 50-year mortgage is nothing but a World Economic Forum policy. And I want anybody right now on town hall panel to raise your hand and say, Ashley, I want to debate with you because I don't agree. Because I'm going to tell you, it is a World Economic Forum policy. Because here's what's going to happen. I put a big post about this. The math just supports 30% of any American will have the chance to actually pay off their house if they never had a financial hardship or something globally didn't happen that put them in a refinance situation. So 1/3 of the people may be able to own a house outright. The other 2/3 would never. The other 2/3 would never. Now, let's talk about the new buzzword. Actually, I heard Paul Renner bring it up tonight. Affordability. That buzzword is a secret World Economic Forum buzzword that's about to roll out and roll over our entire day-to-day living that we have today. Affordability is the goal of the 2026 midterms for the Republican Party. Anybody want to raise their hand on the panel tonight and try to guess what affordability means from that perspective and what it really means when you raise yourself up above the noise, and I call us divergent? What is really the affordability message? The real affordability message means we're not going to be able to afford life. We're going to be extremely living in times that we could never even fathom would exist. And I want somebody to say, Ashley, I don't think you're right. But I'm sorry. The World Economic Forum said 5, 6, 7 years ago, this is their 2030 plan. And we're arguably 4 years from 2030. And I see these things just laying right into play. Somebody, Amaro, do you think affordability is really to help us out? Or is it really going to put us more in the corner and we're like at wit's end to try to survive? I'm gonna try to get reactions from Amaro, and I'm gonna talk to Brett and Dr. Aaron and Mike. I don't want to act like I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist here, but in reality, guys, you got to see these little breadcrumbs and look 10 years out. Don't look at the surface just today. You got to look. What is this going to do to me 10 years, 5 years, 2 years from now? Amaro, what do you think? Go ahead. What's your reaction to that?
Yes, sir. I will say really quickly, that thing about the bugs, they can eat all the crickets and they can drink all the roach milk and they can eat the carbon-based butter. We'll stick to the real stuff. And on the affordability issue, that is absolutely on point when we're talking about putting us in these small cities where we're all stuck within a radius where we don't have any more cars, pricing us out of cars, pricing us out of our homes. So my reaction with that is, we know the World Economic Forum is an extremely evil organization, tied to the Rothschilds, tied to the Rockefellers, tied to the most evil, most corruptive forces that our country's ever seen, and you can even argue the entire world. Now, you're absolutely right when it comes to making us indentured servants, and then we see ourselves being taxed and double taxed and triple taxed to the point where let's say, for example, you have a grandma that paid off her home 30 years ago, and now you could have somebody from a Fortune 500 company buy that debt because some weird reason she forgot to pay her taxes, now she's out on the street, right? Because they put a lien on her home, and after a few years, they could take over it for pennies on the dollar. And what comes to mind to me is the Hobbits, where they have us confined in these little stations, right? And the FEMA zones that Alex Jones talks so much about when back in the days. So my reaction to that is we have to continue to resist. We have to build our communities and try to find out when somebody talks about affordability, what do they really mean? For me, when I talk about affordability, it means about creating enough jobs through bringing in industry, rising up Florida-based jobs, empowering our small businesses, making then therefore life easier and more affordable. Also empowering our education system while focusing on trade schools. So that's what it means to me. But what it means to certain other people that are more nefarious, they will weaponize that term and use it to put us in a form of indentured servitude. Paying a home for 50 years is making you a slave to that mortgage for 50 years.
Wow. See, I am not a conspiracy theorist, crazy person. Mike Velarde, do you see this 50-year mortgage thing kind of not really the best thing for we the people?
Yeah, of course, I agree with you. You got to remember, we live in the end times when Bible prophecy is being fulfilled. That's what I just wrote my last book about, and they're dovetailing into the rapture. The rapture has to happen within the next few years because Israel is going to be 80 in 2029. Their plan is for 2030. It's all about control. Satan wants control. He wants to be worshipped like God. What do you think the Muslim takeover is about? Allah in the Quran, it says that Allah is the greatest deceiver of all. There's no greater deceiver than Allah. Well, what does that tell you? Who does that make Allah? Jesus said the devil was the father of lies. You put two and two together, right? The only time Jesus raised his hand was to heal. Every time Muhammad raised his hand, he was with a sword and to kill somebody.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Mike. Rosemary, you wanted to chime in. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember, but we had a 40-year mortgage, and that became obsolete because of the fact that the interest rate had to be higher because there was more risk. Now, my theory, and this is the only way you would implement a 40 or 50-year mortgage, is to have naturally a lower payment. However, it would have to be there would have to be a reconsideration or a change during that lifetime of the mortgage when these young couples have more money in order to be able to pay a higher interest, a higher amount for their mortgage and interest, and bring down the cost of the interest and bring down the number of years of the mortgage. So that would be the only way to convert it, to have a conversion within that kind of a situation. But as far as, these kids being able to afford it, that this is a problem now. The affordability is not there. And that's why I think Trump came out with this kind of a proposal. But this is, what can I tell you? Because I am in the business, and many times it's just a few dollars a month that keeps somebody out of a house because of the debt to ratio. The debt to ratio is very important in being able to decipher whether someone can or cannot afford a house.
Wow. Thank you, Rosemary.
I wanted to chime in. I was actually a mortgage lender for a short period of time, and I'm going to say this. I think the whole thing with how the system is set up with mortgages is a sham. in the sense that we shouldn't be having to pay such high interest on, property that that we basically have claimed as ours. And the whole thing with paying additional taxes, property taxes, is also a sham. I can say that in my own state, even though we also have state taxes here. I didn't have that when I was in Texas, but the property taxes are going up and up and up. I've talked to several people just recently that have purchased houses, and they can't believe how much the property taxes have gone up. And I think Mageso could probably agree with me on this too, with the whole thing about, we were enslaved to this whole Babylonian banking system so long ago.
He actually was next, Leslie, and you stepped on him, but it's okay. Don't worry. I'm gonna step on him too, just for a second. Okay. And
Sorry, Mageso.
No,
It's okay.
no.
I can step back.
Honestly, guys, remember they control the prices, right? In every industry vertical, the food supply, the electronics, the chips, everything. It's all controlled. So what Leslie just said, in her state, all the prices are going out of control. I'm here to tell you it's going out of control in every state, and it's by design because they're putting us in this affordability narrative. And I'm trying to wake my brothers and sisters of Christ to the next agenda. The next agenda is you're not going to be able to own anything, and you're going to like it. I'm just trying to warn us. Mageso, go ahead. You're up.
Well, thank you, Ashley. You're making my point. And this is why I asked the question of the potential governor of returning to the single income. Affordability is not a new term. It started back in the day when we could survive on a single income. And then one morning we woke up and they said, two people need to go to work now to afford things. And we let it happen. And then the dual income led to higher prices. If we didn't go to dual income, prices would have stayed down. It's supply and demand. But the people decided to enslave themselves even more. And then so you had to now have two cars because each person has to have their own car to go to work. So the automobile industry thrived. Housing costs went up. Everything went up. And then our children had to go to work, and they now had to have cars. So this has been building for a long time. So this affordability and global issue of putting us into smart cities and taking us off the land has been in play for a long time. People are now just getting into the panic stage. Oh, prices are too high. No, this started way back in the 60s. Actually, after World War II, it was already starting to happen. They gave us a few years of, say, luxury, which created the baby boomers. But then after that, it's been a downhill slide ever since. So words are powerful. You have to listen to the words that they speak because they're warning us each time. But we're asleep because of one of your favorite words, Ashley, the television, which has been lying to the people all the time and manipulating us. And you see that every day with the pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies. They dominate the ads on TV. Everything to increase prices, to drive us away, to separate us as people, even to the point of taking God out of our lives. So, yeah, it's in time. People should have woken up a long time ago.
And to
So
Mageso's,
I see the WDF as woke evil fools. WEF. Woke evil fools.
I like that.
And to Mageso's point, here in 2025, going to 2026, people on the right are divided now more than they were in 2016, more than they were in 2020. And you got to ask yourself, why? Why is everyone divided? Why can't somebody that's helped Trump get elected 2 times all of a sudden is a liberal because you followers aren't liking what I'm saying when I say, hey, the 50-year mortgage is a globalist move. It is not America First move. Holy smacks. I had black eyes virtually from all my following. You're a liberal now. In the closet. No, I'm not a liberal. I'm just trying to wake you guys up to reality that this affordability topic, it's going to be used and abused in the next couple months for the primaries and the midterms general. You guys got to trust me on this. It's going to be discussed, and we're victims of it. We're victims of the system because it's rapidly changing. And Ken, I hope and pray that he talks slowly and calm, because he's going to tell you guys the financial collapse is within days. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yes, but come closer to the mic and talk slow and loud.
Okay, actually, that is the topic. At this point, we should all be focused on this globalist World Economic Forum, because we have come to that stage where they want to eliminate majority of us, use the robotics, and control us through digital means as slaves, tax slaves, debt slaves, rental slaves. We are there in the final phase. AI is the final weapon, which is now going to crash your stock market, because the funding that was brought up today at JP Morgan, 50 billion is required. Electricity shortage in this country. They will suck up all your electricity in the data centers, which they want to control you through. Okay, but how did we get here? All you guys are wonderful human beings from a religious point of view, from an economic point of view, but how did we get here? That's my problem. Thomas Jefferson, you all have to go back to Thomas Jefferson. He was the precisely warned us on these issues. The banking cartel, which took our country in 1913. And that's how we became today tax slaves and debt slaves, because of that particular reason. And we are not focusing on that. Then what did the founding fathers intended us to do? Trade, do not attack anybody, do not start any war unless we are attacked. What did we do after the bankers took over? All wars are bankers' wars. And that there is a documentary on YouTube everybody should pull up about the US history. All wars are bankers' wars. Today we have $1 trillion budget for the Pentagon. Who are the beneficiaries of this? Not the American people. Who are they helping to control us? The globalist corporations are the beneficiaries with the bankers. How many companies make rockets, missiles, planes, fuel? Where does this money go without our consent? The founding principle of this nation was taxation is theft without representation. And we have ignored, we have brought it to ourselves where we stand today. And the root cause to be solved, we all have to collectively revolt. That is only the solution I can tell you. I do not see elections or selections will solve it anymore. We are at a point where we can't pay the national debt. We are already negative. Tariff is a fraud injected by Trump on the behalf of the globalist. Tariffs were intended by the founding fathers to run the federal government with zero income tax to the American people from the Fed government. But today we have federal government sucking us dry beside the states. So the federal government is printing money like drunken sailors for years now. We have already done $2 trillion in just few months. So we are adding 36 to 38 trillion, that's nothing. Then your stock market is completely fraud. And we are decoupling in the East versus the West at this point. BRICS is a different system than the globalists had here. They are injecting the other side of it now. All the tax havens were created to suck us dry through the stock markets. The wealth transfer of the American people have stolen by this. How they become billionaires and trillionaires? There were checks and balances put in 1930s under Glass-Steagall Act to separate the powers of the banker, stock market fraud, criminals versus other banking lending institutions with the clearinghouse. That all was demolished by Bill Clinton eventually taking of the Glass-Steagall Act. That's how we got to .com. I was in the Silicon Valley. I saw the loot and plunder. That's where I woke up to study this country's history. So I went after the root causes of the problem since I've been on it. So after that, we did the 9/11. We keep complaining, blaming other people. 9/11 is done by Pentagon and DARPA. And now even Tucker Carlson is bringing up the whistleblowers of the chemical trails and how they want to kill us through bioweapons through DARPA. Okay, so we are already there. Please, the time has come. Election is not going to solve your problem. They're going to pull the plug through stock market, that's for sure, because wealth is already taken away. Go and check the balance sheets of every corporation. How does your wealth is looted every day on Wall Street? Is it through stock buy option? Any revenue coming to a corporation is buy back their shares to inflate it and then issue stock options to themselves at zero cost.
You got 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm done with it, but please, I am telling you, we have to come to a senses where the banking cartel is the one and the political system is gone. And if you have Colonel Douglas coming next week, he has turned 180-degree away from Trump, and he will tell you more. He's on the same page that I am now at this point. Okay, so I don't know, I can discuss all this, but we are being distracted by our founding father vision was very clear. And Thomas Jefferson said it all in few words. How does a property value go from 100,000 to 1 million in few years and your wages doesn't double? Inflation and deflation, that's what Thomas Jefferson said. They will take your property, steal your property, make your children homeless.
So, Christian, Brett, Macgregor, you guys know Ken's he's passionate about this, and he's been right. I gotta tell you, he's been right about this, guys. The financial situation, the taxes, all of it. We're right around the corner from a financial reset. Call it what you want. The experts call it not a reset. They call it an adjustment. Things like this. But the affordability, I wanted to bring that up tonight because every agenda, it's kind of presented to us on the surface. And then when you dig a little bit further, it might not end up helping we the people in the long term. We're learning that about a lot of things that's been going on in recent months. But I just want us to prepare because every day, I'm not going to lie, every day I go and I see everything around me is getting crazy, crazy, crazy expensive, out of control expensive. And if I'm saying it, gosh, my brothers and sisters got to be saying it too. I can't be the only one. And the moment I heard these buzzwords that, okay, we lost a lot of elections, these special elections, and the Democrat Party's still alive. No, these were all blue territory. Okay, make no mistake. Now it's a little frustrating to me that a conservative influence person like Charlie Kirk gets assassinated. You'd think the Republican Party would be voting in droves in these areas. You would think. I just want to remind everybody the Uniparty's still here. Every one of us panel members gripe and complain about this rhino's doing this in this county, in this town, in this state. It's happening everywhere. We are, unfortunately, slowly, we're becoming a minority in this Saving America game. And I just want to remind everybody what this affordability really means and what we need to do to try to mitigate the risk. I don't know what to do other than communicate with you guys once a week and say, hey, we're growing our own food. Valerie's leading that effort. We're going to start cooking a lot healthier now. We're no longer buying bread from the supermarket. We're making our own bread. They're putting chemicals in our foods that you cannot trust anymore.
They already added bugs to our food. You guys probably may not be aware of that, but we already are eating the bugs and we just don't know it.
I just hate it. It's a sad time, you know, when I've been up here for 4 years with Valerie and before that on social media telling people the truth. And I'm telling people, guys, I'm sorry. Look, I love Trump, but a couple of things that he's done puts him in the globalist corner, and this 50-year mortgage and affordability.
I'm not gonna go that
those
far.
two things.
I don't go that far.
Those two things alone
they were just suggestions.
Is very, very, very. It's putting us in that World Economic Forum policy. I'm just seeing it way before it happens, and this is kind of what happened, guys, when COVID hit the streets. Okay, we kind of saw the writing on the wall, Valerie and I, early on, like, hey, the mask is making your immune system 30% less effective. Don't wear the mask. Hey, these tests are false positives. Elon Musk took 4 of them. 2 of them were positive, 2 of them are negative. There's a problem here. And then everybody was telling you to go get the test. I'm seeing the writing on the wall. I yield. Dr. Gray, go ahead. What's your reaction?
All right. Well, first of all, I want to tell you, actually, you are a crazy conspiracy theorist. That doesn't make you wrong, though. Here's the thing with this, and you and I have talked about this before. As Brother Mike said, we are in end days. You know, things are coming to a close. We see Bible prophecy coming true in these moments. And this is the thing. Everything you see here, what's going on, is all a setup to what's going to happen at the end of times, when the Antichrist and the false prophet takes over and runs everything in the world. And the truth is, all power in that moment is all the devil was given authority over the running of this world, not the world itself, but the running of it, the mechanics of this world. The devil was given that, the systems of this world. That's what he runs. And so every single system that we have is going to filter towards that very thing, and that's going to be oppressive to all mankind in that last time. And here's the thing about the world, the Economic World Forum, that whole, by 2030 you're going to own nothing and be happy about it. That is starting to be pushed for a long time by those who are in control, by those who have the money, because they want us, as someone said in the chat, indentured servants. That's what they want us to see. The end of time, back in the day, they had, kings and stuff. That's really what everybody was. You didn't want to admit it, but that's what you were, and they want that again. They don't want people to be free. And so every system, every politician, everyone who works in politics, that's what they're going to drive for. That's what they're going to strive for, to push us that way, no matter how it is. So you talking about all these rhinos and things like that, it's the same agenda. They just come from a few different ways, and we have to understand that. There is no true government system that is truly for the people. It's never going to exist, because government is for government, and that's what government has to be. It has to be for itself. If it's not for itself, it has no power. It can do nothing. So government, by its nature, has to be for itself, and that is the truth of it. So everything that we see going on, it shouldn't surprise us. You are absolutely right in what you think. The 50-year mortgage, I want everyone to understand this. You already pay on a 30-year mortgage almost 10 years of nothing but interest. That's going to more than double with the 50-year one. So understand that 20 plus years, you're going to be paying nothing but interest on a 50-year loan for a house that you're never going to actually own. Why? Because they can come and take it for whatever reason they deem fit. That's ridiculous. But that's what the government wants. That's how it's going to set up. And here's the thing. They use these buzzwords, these key words, because they want us to, they want to get in our heads and say, oh, it's going to help us. Like, they're talking about it and they're looking at it. It's going to make it more affordable for those young people who can't buy a house now. And for the first few months, yes, it will. They'll have lesser monthly payments. but they're going to be enslaved to this thing for all their lives. They could start at 25 and have to pay it till they're 75, and then you can't even guarantee that they're going to be able to give the house to their kids. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely idiotic.
And
So
and between now and till the person gets 75, the prices of literally everything
will
is
go up.
going out of control.
Yep.
Everything.
So all that's going to do is bring interest even up further, which takes that 20 plus years of interest you're paying and extends it even more. That all they're doing is creating that same system we had of monarchy, but not calling it that. Because the truth is, back then, the king owned all the land. If he didn't want you to have it, he'd come in and kick you out. But that's what they're doing. That's what they want. They just want it done by our vote and our okay, rather than doing it by force. Because then we think oh, we're safe in this. But the fact is there's no government that can make people truly safe. The only way you're going to be safe is if you yourself, if your community, as Brother Brett said, we come together, we work together as community, and we make ourselves safe. We make ourselves one thing, and that is the most important thing, because that's the only way it's going to work. So I love this country. We can say we're a government for the people, and that's what it was designed to be. But again, in the end, that's nothing but I hate to say it like this, but it's nothing a lie, because the government literally cannot be for the people. Government has to be for government, or government has no power. That's why they did all the changes to our stuff that we had. When we first started, and we had senators and stuff like that for years. They didn't make any money being a senator. They didn't. Now all of a sudden, you go in, you have $100,000 to your name. You go in, you work 25 years. Next thing you know, you're $100+ million, billion-dollar millionaire, whatever it is. They changed all that to keep themselves in power, and that to me is just robbing the American people.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. We will be leaving this topic, going to state. I'm going to need some help with Brett and Mageso and Christian and Victoria, because Valerie and I got to walk our dogs, and we'll be back. You guys are unmuted. Mike also will help in the intel round here. But Brett, before we go walk the dogs, and Christian, what do you think, Brett, about my push to waking people up about this affordability is really a scary situation? And then Christian will chime in. And Mike Velarde will come up with the next topic. You guys will be able to unmute and chat while we are walking the dogs. So make sure Rosemary's unmuted. She'll call me and chew me out. Go ahead, Brett, and Christian's on deck. Thank you.
Well, I was going to wait till you got off camera to give you compliments, but I'm really happy that you brought this up. We need to test everything. We're commanded to test everything. And we can't just be sheep and following, and we have a good leader. That doesn't mean we follow blindly. So I'm really happy that you brought it up. Looking specifically at the 50-year mortgage, I don't know. I gave it some thought, and it makes it a little cringy, but I imagine that's what it was like when they came up with a 30-year mortgage. People probably said the same thing that we're saying right now. And the discussion, if you take a snapshot in time, this discussion happened with our parents, and it happened with our grandparents. It's the same thing over and over. And I'm saying that so we don't get the heart rate up and into the panic mode. We need to think about it logically and go forward without the fear mongering. And that's what's happening. It's co-opting, and it's just PsyOps 101. And when we're talking about the term affordability, I'm really happy that he brought that up, because this is Marxist playbook. You take the language and then you just shift it a little bit, and you shift it and you keep shifting it till it doesn't mean what it meant originally. For example, DEI. Well, of course we all hate DEI, but what is that? Diversity. We look at the screen right now. We've got men, women, we've got different ethnicities. Diversity is a good thing, but not shoved down our throat. So you take the good thing and you co-opt it. Eating insects. My daughter That's what she wants her cottage industry to make food out of insects. This was before the WEF started pushing it, and it's kind of a niche thing. For me, I don't mind eating insects, but that's my choice. It shouldn't be shoved down our throats, and it shouldn't be because there's some scam about replacing meat because cow farts are going to bring the end of the world. That's just absurd. So you take this thing that's good and you twist it a little bit. For example, that's how Thailand, if you've traveled to Thailand, you can go to the cart and eat bugs off the cart. But that's part of their cuisine, and that happened because the king um, suggested it or ordered it to be able to stay alive when they were in tough times. So you take all these good things, and going back to the rainbow, I think I said that last time I was speaking, that's been co-opted. So we can't let the ultimately Satan's agenda, the communist plot or the leftist and the liberals co-opt these things. We have to hold on to it. So affordability absolutely is a good thing. What could be wrong with that? Well, then you bring in the World Economic Forum, you bring in the UN agenda. I don't even know what number they're on now, 2030. It keeps getting pushed, but we need to fight back with this, and we need to fight back at the ballot box, and we need to fight back with just helping our neighbors to understand what this is. And that means not staying in your safe zone and staying in your silo. It means getting out and talking with people that don't agree with you or that do have different hairstyles or nose rings, and making sure that we're loving our neighbors and not passing judgment and not. So God will judge us. It's not up to us to do the judging, but it is up to us to be spreading God's love. And I'll pass it with that.
Can I chime in? I've been holding it for a minute, a few minutes.
Yes, please.
So I really agree with you in that it needs to be in your community, your neighbors, precincts, that's where you need to focus. Affordability, that's perspective. That depends on your lifestyle, right? How you want to live. I know a lot of people coming into the workforce now, they are digital nomads, so they don't want to own a house. They don't want the responsibility that comes with ownership. So I come across people who are making changes, to how they travel, how they work, and what they consume. I do want to say thank you to Ashley and Valerie for showing up. People are smart. We are the media. Us showing up every week, communicating, having these conversations. This is what it's about. We're connecting with the people around us, and we're building each other up, and we're helping. And we might not be in the same neighborhood, but I still consider you part of my community, which is awesome. I think what's important is, how do we go beyond this? I mean, I see Trump setting us up for success with bringing companies back into the States and, tariffs and all that. I see the long plan on it, but really it's our responsibility to hold accountability and to know our neighbors and for our communities. I mean, he can't come into our neighborhood and tell us about our HOA and make that right. I mean, can't fix it all. We're responsible for our communities and our state and taking care of that. One of the things that I've been working on lately with Michael Proper is creating a barter system, a digital barter system, where people can go to a local farmers market. And with the shutdown or government shutdown, a lot of people lost their SNAP benefits. So that's a real, you don't have access to food. People go into that, worry, they get anxious, they go to extremes. And how do we combat that? Grow your own food, go plant a tree, go, grow some beans, some lettuce, and trade it with your neighbor. But people are so separated since COVID that they're not connecting with their neighbors. So how do you do that? Here in Hawaii, we got a lot of farmers markets. So going to farmers markets and educating people and saying, hey, you download this app, it's going to give you $10 worth of coins. And you take these $10 worth of coins and you're going to get rewards for using this program to exchange. And this token, which is like a reward, you can also use, because it has no financial value, you can use it as a bartering tool. And you get the mayor, you get the governor to recognize that, you know, hey, let's open up farmers markets once a month for trade, you know, bartering. You introduce them to this trade system, and then they take it with them. And they can continue to earn and trade and transfer using this app, and they're building value and they're building worth. And they're also connecting with their community. So when there's a delay in products, when there's a delay in services, you then have a way to, you know, I'll give you, and in this case, it's going to be called Pono. I'm going to give you 2 Pono for your 2 mangoes, you know, and then you give me those 2 Pono back when I have my 2 avocados. You know, it just helps facilitate when there's a delay. But I mean, that's really what we're going for, right? We need to be self-sustaining, self-sufficient, and connecting with our neighbors.
Well,
Feedback.
I'd like to chime in on that because
Please do.
what works in Hawaii may not work in Nevada or Colorado or some other place. It's a different environment. So everything is based on the community and the area that you live. And that starts with our local politicians as well. Because when you look at the high cost of living, not only in Hawaii, but we're dealing with Hawaii because that's where we live, that's the fault of the local government. Okay. Because they're putting money in their own pockets. You see, where the county council votes themselves a raise, they're essential people, and there's a crisis. They don't work full time. They can have another job. So they're living high off the hog while they're enslaving the people. So these food banks and things that you mentioned, these are things, at least in Hawaii, the local farmers should be selling their products to the corporations that are here. We should not allow the corporations to buy products outside this island if they're available here. So we can keep things within our own community, our own county or state, however level you want to operate under.
So 90% of Big Island produce, egg, is shipped to Oahu, I found out.
Yeah,
so we don't even make enough to sustain ourselves. So how do we stimulate local agriculture?
Well, back in the day, and this is where we need to go back to, is every island used to trade amongst each other. We have more than enough abundance of food here. We should be not only exporting food to the islands, exporting it to the mainland and other countries. So they've taken away people's, not only their self-esteem, but their creativity, their ability to thrive on their own, not only as individuals, but to thrive as a neighborhood, as a community, as a county, as a state, and so on. We've become dependents. That's why when you do your taxes, you get to write off your dependents, okay? Because our children are dependent on us, and we're dependent on government. And as Ken pointed out, we're paying taxes that we're not even supposed to pay. This is back to the Tea Party days, taxation without representation. So we've given up our power, and we are going to be overrun by these different ideologies and things because we're living in fear. We're living in days of principalities that are controlling us.
Yeah, well, you know what? I hate to throw a wet blanket on your conversations there, but if you're going to be in a low back and forth, that's all fine and well as long as you don't leave the dirt path. But if you're transporting stuff over a paved road, who's paying for the paved road? You got to tax something to pay for the amenities that you're using to move trade back and forth between people.
I'm glad you
So,
brought up that point. I agree with that. You pay for the things
you
that are
know,
essential.
there's got to be a way to tax that to pay for the infrastructure that you're using. It has to be fair, but not overtaxed. But you do need to make sure that you can maintain the infrastructure that you are using.
That is true.
So
So let's
there's the
just look at your
fairness
own,
in that.
let's look at your own neighborhood, for example. The potholes that are created in your own neighborhood. You know, if it's in front of your yard, you should be able to take care of that pothole. It shouldn't necessarily have to be the county or whatever, because it's in your neighborhood. So,
Yeah.
yes, that's just like, you know, the water doesn't belong to the county or the state or whatever, it belongs to the people. But we got to pay for the maintenance of the pipes, the installation of the pipes, and things like that. That to me is not a tax. That's to me is a service. We're paying for a service. So it's more of a service fee than a tax fee. And it's based on maybe the size of your home, size of your family, whatever. So it's proportionate. So yes, we do maintain the roads. If you look at the roads just for safety, I mean, here in Hawaii, there's more roads you can't even see on at night. All you're going to do is paint white lines and put in the yellow reflective markers, and there'll be less accidents. They don't even do the fundamental things. But if the people would not only force the government, because we are the government, is to say, this is what we need. We need paved roads. How much is it going to cost? How much manpower is involved in this? Then we can begin to start establishing real budgets to pay for the necessities that'll
That
keep
comes
things
back
moving.
to electing the correct people that are
Exactly.
going to have that point of view where they actually want to provide a service to the people that they represent.
Correct.
And as far as that affordability thing, I want to say something that Ashley did not mention, but I think it went past most people, and that's getting rid of the penny. Because in the affordability scheme, when you get rid of the lower denominations, all you can print now is higher denominations so that your taxes go up at a higher rate because they never round down. They are only going to round up. So your taxes are going up. Getting rid of the penny was a bad idea. However, that's the affordability thing where they say, oh, we're going to do this for your benefit because it costs so much to make a penny. But your taxes and actual prices are going to go up higher. Just remember what happened to like countries like Germany and Italy after World War II. I have a 100,000 mark note printed from Germany in my deposit box. It's worth nothing, but I bought it for historical reasons just to look at it. When a dollar becomes $100,000, you know, the affordability, they just inflated until it doesn't mean anything anymore. And we're seeing that happen to the dollar.
So we get it away from them and we destabilize it by going on not fiat currencies. How feasible is that?
Well, you got to remember that whatever you're trading has to have value. So if it's food, food's the value.
Value is
Textiles,
placed by the person who has it
right,
and who's using it.
right.
Oh, one area of affordability is healthcare. And that is going to be a very big issue because the affordability of healthcare, is it going into the private sector or is it going to be government run, or will it be the employer? And this is a big question because many people are not going to get the health care that they need, and certainly Obamacare is not the answer. So this is a big area. It does not incur a product, but it incurs, our very own lives. But this is something that people are overlooking, and I think we need to look into it in depth and see what will work. Will it be the free market? Will it not be?
It's
What
already part of the free market because you know what? For healthcare items, you have people that have home remedies. So here's somebody that was suffering from gout. I found out that they had gout. I went ahead and I mixed them some cherry juice with water and had them drink it. And they said, "Oh my God, my knees don't hurt anymore." Well, that's a home remedy, but
Well, I agree in home remedies. However, when it comes to really needing hospitalization or surgery or things like that, those are the things that I am talking about. The home remedies have always existed. That does not enter into the picture.
No, can I
oh,
just,
it definitely does enter into the picture.
Yeah, the
can I,
hospitals need to be the exception, not the rule. And
Exactly.
we allow naturopaths to let them do their things because they're not covered by insurances and things like that. Insurance is one of the biggest scams that we have going. It's basically a money laundering operation. So
That's why I brought it
Absolutely.
up. That's why I
Once you
brought it up.
increase,
That goes all the way back to Ben Franklin.
yeah,
can I chime in, please, for a second?
go ahead,
yeah,
Ken.
speak up, Ken.
Yeah, Victoria, we need to get to the root cause of because I'm fascinated with one thing in this country when I came here. The founding principles of this country are very unique in the world. I've studied so much history. I come from India, and I am from a Sikhism faith, from a different, but I know more about Christ. We have talked about this earlier. Love of money is a root cause of all evil. The founding principle of this country was taxation is theft without representation. Okay, how did we deviate? There was a debate between Thomas Jefferson and Hamilton. Very, very important one to study for everybody. Healthcare you're talking about. I'll give you all the solutions were given by the founding fathers. Healthcare was non-profit. When did it become profit?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the root cause of the problem. If it was, you will have affordable healthcare, it's a non-profit. Okay, everything was turned into profit by whom? The bankers. That's why it comes to Thomas Jefferson again. Please, everybody must focus. These are very epic words we need to go back to find the solution. He said, if the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around the banks will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs. I sincerely believe that the banking establishments are more dangerous than standing armies, and that the principle of spending money to be paid by the posterity under the name of funding is but swindling futurity of the largest scale. This is a very powerful statement, please. Now, how to find a solution to our problems in this country is if you follow the Constitution. Taxation is represented. Okay, we are 99%, they are 1%. And we all studied political science in a school. A basic lesson that we all have in political science in the school is how bill becomes a law. Okay? Bill cannot become a law without your consent. And we are the most dumb, stupid idiots. We do not pay attention while bills are being introduced. Who is passing them? On whose behalf they're passing? This is how we have got to this slavery, tax slavery, debt slavery, rental slavery, mortgage slavery, inflation. So the banking, come back to the banking. Founding fathers had established, since the central bank came in 1913, the inflation deflation came from that. Okay. How does inflation come? Affordability that we are talking here. It comes from you decrease the interest rate, increase the money supply into the system, give it to these banker criminals who are going to be drunken sailors, and they will lend to anybody to make an interest rate because they're greedy and they're going to make so. Principal is very small. On 30-year mortgage, you have 100,000 in principal, you're paying 300,000 interest. It's a very common sense issue for us to understand. And the Rothschild philosophy in central banking, he clearly stated, you need to break up the family. You can enslave a human and a nation through debt, national debt and individual debt. That's how the central banking system was created, to enslave human civilization on the planet.
Yep.
Tax havens were created by the G7 countries, by the West.
Oh, hold on. It's not just the bank is not the bad guy 100%. Look, I'm going to give you an example. My house, I bought at a specific dollar rate. I paid for my house. It's gone up triple. You know what? It's not the bank that made the value of the house go up. It's the willingness of other people to pay that amount to get me out of my house so that they can have the house. That's where the money is. It's greed, personal greed. So somebody else is willing to give me more money. If I'm willing to take it, then I'll sell my house at a profit.
That is where people put the value on that property. Because if
Exactly.
they don't value it, then they're going to
That's not a bank. That's not a bank doing it. It's people. People putting a value, saying, "Hey, I'm willing to pay you $2 more than what you paid for it." You know, well, that's because they value it more. So to them, it is worth it.
So
That's
if
where
we,
this price earning spiral is going with it.
so if we take it off the fiat currency, and it's based on something you value and something I value, we're able to get it away from the bank, and then we're able to, well, hold on to more of what we need, you know, our power. And then, but we have to agree on that basis, right? We have to
Right.
agree on something that is shared value.
I'd like to add something to this. I'm running for state senate here in Florida, District 14, and my degrees are on business. And something I'm hearing a lot is all of this is supply and demand, and we have a shortage. We have a shortage of supply, meaning this all boils down to a basic economic perspective. Here where I live in Tampa Bay, we have more people than there are access to homes. So therefore the prices are increasing. Now, let's say for example, if somebody bought $100,000 home, now it's worth, let's say, $500,000 a few years later, and we're not building supplies to meet that demand, because now instead of a permit taking 3 days, you have permits taking 3 years, 7 years to build.
Exactly.
The increase of productions, that has nothing to do with the banks. And if we really wanted to get to the root thing, why didn't our founding fathers engrave into the Constitution banning usury? So
see, that comes back to the regulations and the way that things are regulated. That's why if you want to make it affordable, you have to make it so that these regulations that are handcuffing you, you got to get rid of them, strip them out, and make it so that people can have jobs and can build things. And you put in safety measures that they have to use, but you don't over restrict them.
And I like to address the thing with the fiat currency as well. If any type of currency is going to be based off a circulating supply, if we look at the U.S. dollar, the circulating supply, we can look at it to the more we print, the higher the circulating value, the lower the dollar becomes, right? So if we were to start putting stuff out of circulation, if we built a burn mechanism into our US dollar, the same way we do with crypto, and we start reducing the circulating value, we start increasing the value of the US dollar. You can't have a quadrillion US dollars floating around and expect it to hold the same value.
That's very true, but they're raising prices to everything on purpose.
Correct, but we also have to tie it down to something of value, get back to the gold standard, and have our dollar pegged to that gold standard, like we did before Nixon took us off of the gold standard. That will reduce our circulating supply, and thus you are right. But all of that is all included within inflation. Inflation is just an added tax that you're paying. You can look at Milton Friedman that actually brought that great point. So we have to find a way to start reducing and stopping government from overprinting. The more they print, if a bottle of water costs $3, if they print, and the more they add to it, the less that you're going to need more dollars to buy that bottle of water. Is the same thing we saw with Christian brought up from Germany, where you needed a wheelbarrow of Reichsmarks to buy a loaf of bread. Because what Germany did is started printing currency, started printing to the point that the currency had no value.
Right. And
So what do you think
that's
about
called
using-
economic stimulus is what they're doing.
But since I have a cold, I am going to bid you all a very good night, okay?
Good night, Rosemary.
By the way, we're having future rules. If you're going to sleep, you drop it in the chat. You don't stop the live broadcast to tell everyone you're going to sleep.
Okay, good
In the
night.
future.
Good night.
Good night. In the future, you guys drop it in the chat. Let us know you're sleepy. Don't stop the live stream and disrupt the energy that's going on in the room because you're tired. This is a good point, guys. This is a good point. We're not solving it today, but we're making our brothers and sisters mindful of what's coming. Because make no mistake, it is going to be, in my opinion, this is Ashley's opinion, it's going to be worse than what happened in the Great Depression in the 1920s and 30s. I believe it's going to be worse than that. So that means we got to rely on each other more than we're going to rely on the government.
Yep.
I pray I'm wrong, but there's just way too much negative stuff that's just, and they control all of it. They control supply and demand in virtually every industry vertical. And we, the people, suffer in every scenario. We lose in every scenario. Ayo.
Yeah,
when
well,
you look at affordability,
I still maintain getting rid of the penny was a slippery slope.
well, when you look at affordability and things like that, before we went into individual budgets, who determined what the cost of things were and what was affordable? And how did it keep getting inflated, and who was behind all that inflation? That's the key.
We already know. It's the 1%. Come on.
Exactly. So you're back to the banking system, and you're back to who controls the money and who sets the pricing. So it isn't rocket science how we got here.
Can we destabilize that?
I go a little bit deeper in that. I think it's the 13 bloodlines and those families. They've controlled and manipulated and created, all these wars because the banks get rich off wars, like Ken mentioned earlier. So they can, get rich from people making tanks and airplanes and all this stuff. They don't care. They just want power. The banks.
Those families that you mentioned are really the bankers because they're like the board of directors. They're the ones pulling the strings, and they got their puppet CEO banker doing everything else.
Yep.
So it still goes back to the banks.
So we just need to get it out of their
Ken
hands.
wants to comment.
So let's move on from the 50-year mortgage and the financial discussion. I think it's clear we're all aware that wasn't a necessarily good move by Trump, and it kind of plays into the World Economic Forum agenda, and we just gotta look carefully and pray that we're wrong with this assumption. But gosh darn it, it sure points that it's going that way.
Ashley, I never heard anyone bring this up about the 50-year mortgage, but the 50-year mortgage can be a good thing. And the reason why I say that is because if I have bought a house with that 50-year mortgage and the value of the house goes up quicker than the 50-year mortgage can be paid off, I might have started out with a $10 house, but if the value of the house goes up to $100, then my mortgage of 50 years, I'm going to see a profit when I sell that house. And so I'll have $90 because I only mortgaged $10 worth. So that excess that I made by investing in that land, I can use on a new house. And I will be able to pay that house off that I purchased later on and build wealth that way. And at the same time, I got rid of the 50-year mortgage when I sold the house.
Well, you
So
won't
you
have 90.
can make money on it.
You won't
Man,
get your
he's-
90.
he missed
You won't
it.
get your $90 back because you got to pay capital gains too.
Yeah, sure, you're going to
Other
pay. That's
tax.
the taxation.
Yeah.
No,
But
please, again, one question I have before I go, just one. See, the interest rate and the inflation inversely work against each other. Okay, you lower the interest rate, you jack up the home price. How do you make a, okay, how did we do the biggest mortgage scam in this country, MBS in 2008? What was the formula created? Let's go to that and that will answer all your questions. How we created it. No documents required. Give $1 million home to a $60,000 income guy who does not qualify to pay the payment for $1 million home. Okay, that was done in 2006, 2007,
right,
2000.
that was bad.
No, let me explain. Let me please explain now. What they did, they frauded and they knew no documents. How did they knew the guy is making only $2,000 payment he can afford? He can't pay me $5,000. Number one. So they said, okay, give him interest rate of 1%. Then every 6 months, increase it by 0.5%. So we'll suck his money out and then package these securities called MBS, market-based securities, and sell it to the world as bonds. This is how the biggest fraud took place in this country around the world, okay, to steal American homes. In 2000, Thomas Jefferson's prophecy came true. So now when you say banker is not a threat, I'm exactly giving you how does a 200,000 home becomes $1 million home when somebody pays? He don't have the money to pay you. The bank is going to lend him because he can offer you a 2% interest rate. So it is the fraud and the greed on Wall Street that we have created. Or stock, same thing we are doing in the stock market. What is the book value of a stock? $1. Your stock is trading at $100. On what basis? Price to earning ratio. Okay. So you look forward 5 years, I'm going to make this much money. My stock should be $100. So now the CEO issues himself 2 million stock options, sell 200 million in his pocket. Company never made a penny. I'm a whistleblower in Netflix case. Netflix was bankrupt in 2011. FBI, James Comey tried to kill me. Obama tried to kill me. I have spent 14 years suffering at the hands of the Fed for a reason to understand all these things. Okay? You're talking to somebody just coming out of thin air. I have said in Washington, prove me wrong and hang me. I'd give it that. But prove me wrong. How did Netflix CEO, now Reed Hastings is funding in New York or anywhere, 100 million in Utah. He has billions in his pocket. Netflix never made that money. Go and check their balance sheets. Where did that money come from? I went to my congressman, Jerry McCurney, in the 11th district in California. He called the Capitol Police on me. I said, hey, explain me, how did Reed Hastings have $1 billion in his pocket when company didn't make it? Where did it come from? Because they stole your pensions. Your pensions are invested in fraud stock market, into the treasury bonds, into the corporate junk bonds invented by Mike Milken. You folks, please need to wake up in this country what has really happened. Nobody's trying to understand me because we are in greed and illusion. Founding fathers were very clear. Money can be coined, as Amaro said, money supply is the problem. You print out of thin air, what Germans did, what happened to them, that's happening to us.
Exactly.
Checks and balances were there. Gold back. Why the gold was taken? The banker said, take it out, make it everything fiat. Okay. So they made printing, but then all the wars, China took our money because we gave them the industrial base. I was in Silicon Valley in semiconductors, screaming at everybody, why are you sending everything to China? I used to travel with Intel into China and Beijing, into Shanghai or everywhere. And I said, we are passing on our technical know-how to these guys, and tomorrow we won't have jobs in the US.
Ken, you hit your time. You hit your time. Just wait a minute. Wait a minute and come back. Just calm down. You get so much time and you get muted. This is what happens when you go off the rails like this. But listen, Victoria or Amaro, Margeso, or Christian, do you guys, or Dr. Aaron, do you guys think that we're going to come to a hyperinflation moment in our history?
Yes, if we're on the current path that we're on.
I think we're already decelerating, honestly, because the more people who are going digital and blockchain, it's slowly taking it away from the government. And the more people who on board with that, which a lot of the younger generation is, and I hope everybody here is diversified with cryptocurrencies, it's going to take away the government power. I mean, and the more people who are on board, and can control their information.
I work for the government. Wait till I turn you off. When I stop your crypto, you'll say, oh my God.
So it's not through a government system, though. It's through an individual system.
Let's not fight about crypto at the moment. Let's just talk. But we're accurate in the sense of we need to have a diversified solution coming forward, and it should be leaning not so much dollar heavy, because I'm afraid toilet paper is going to be worth more than the dollar soon. And I am just trying to, tell you guys to prepare, because history repeats itself, unfortunately. And
yes, it does.
These crooks have done things 100 years ago that it's like a similar path we're walking, except we got technology in the mix, so we just got to prepare and prepare. Margeso, what say you? Let's change the subject. Let's go to something positive.
I just want to say there lies the problem, is we're okay with history repeating itself. At what point do we say no more? Repeat. You like repeating?
Didn't they try to do that in 2008?
Right now is the answer.
So if you have faith and you believe that this is a spiritual battle between good and evil, is this the point of the shift? Or are people going to put their head between their legs and say, let's repeat history again? Let's leave a crap world to our grandchildren and the future generations. No, the time is now to say no and mean it by action and stop talking about it. And that's what we got to get to.
Desperate. People have to, when they go with it, like the whole government shutdown. People here, Hawaii, didn't have SNAP benefits. So guess what? People get desperate. And when they get desperate, that's when they will take on change. But as long as they're getting what they need, they don't want to change, because change is scary. So how do you uncondition them to accept change?
I guess they have to wander in the desert for 40 years.
We're going to have a lot of them out there.
Look, when it comes down to tough times, you have to get innovative, and you have to be able to create something that somebody else wants so that you can exchange with them and barter.
Exactly. That's what I'm working on. Thank you.
Right. But you're still going to have to pay for the infrastructure.
It's already built. It's already been gifted.
I like to add a positive note to this, and to get back to the community sense here. At the end of the day, let's say, for example, we don't peg the dollar back to the gold standard. If we continue printing, we're going to hit hyperinflation quicker than it's going to make everybody's head spin here. But the one of the key things I love what some of our people are bringing up is bringing it back to the community. And when, let's say, for example, when SNAP benefits get cut, what happens? The faith community steps in. The local community steps in. We get people donating food to the banks. We have food banks. We have, like Pastor Gray can attest to this. We have so many of our faith communities going out there feeding the people in need.
That's a
So
Band-Aid.
it is a Band-Aid, but that's why we have to build our
Hold
strong
on.
communities.
Hold on. Mr. Christian, it was never meant to be a Band-Aid. That's a command from God that we're supposed to do. I don't
That's
like
a
the fact
Band-Aid.
it's not a Band-Aid. You can't call it a Band-Aid when it's a
It
command
is.
from God.
That's not
It's
a
a command
Band-Aid.
from God.
It's not a
If it was a
Literally
command from
said,
God, then
yes,
he should help the people by teaching them and
he
giving
did.
them a skill, just
He
like
did.
casting the net and catching the fish. Don't cast to that side, cast to the other side. Teach them a new way.
Yes.
That is the
And he
command
also
from
said there are going
God.
to be
He can't
those
he
he
can't
also
teach
said
those
there are
who
going to
don't
be
want to
those
be
who are with
taught.
you who
Wait a
will
minute.
never be able to do it. The widows, the orphans, those who cannot help themselves. We are supposed to help them. That can't be a Band-Aid when it's a command from God. He did say, teach a man to fish. I fully admit that. But he also said, guess what? You're going to have those who won't ever be able to fish. We're still supposed to help them. We're not supposed to just leave them off to the side. We can't just forget about them. Here's the thing. The government was never meant the whole SNAP thing and stuff, and I've been on it myself. The truth is having the government do that is what is a big killer to any community. It should be the people of the community who are helping those around them. It should
See,
never
but
be left to anybody else. It should be us who's
what
helping
you're
each
saying,
other.
you're saying a fancy version of the word no. And in my mind,
No,
it's still a Band-Aid because you don't just say, oh, you can't do something. You help them by discovering what they can do. It's, I can help you with this, and you can do that. Now, if they
Wait,
won't do it,
hold on,
that's on
hold on.
them.
wait. I think
So
there's a
you're gonna sit here and say
misunderstanding.
that you have
Wait,
a man who can't walk.
wait,
I'm supposed to teach him how to run, and he can't
guys.
walk
No,
There's a misunderstanding.
because he's never gonna be able to
exactly.
do anything.
No. The man who can't walk can use his hands to make soap. He can take the materials and make soap for somebody else who does not know how to make soap. So figure out the I can, not the I can't. I don't want to hear the no. I want to hear the
So,
yeses.
so
Come up with
Pastor,
So that's what
solutions.
Jesus said when he said, go out and help them. That's what he said.
But we
I would
So
help those
disagree with
in the
don't
that.
help
process of
them
it.
with yeses, not I can't,
Really?
so I'm going to
He
give you
did. So
this.
Jesus didn't say the poor you will always have with you. Those weren't his words.
I
He
think,
didn't
I
say
think,
that
I think,
because
I
I
think.
can guarantee you that's exactly what he said. The poor you will always have with you. The needy you will always have with you. Help them continuously. That is what the
Amen.
command from God we have.
So
Now, does
help
that
them
mean
to
we can't?
achieve.
Huh?
But
Help them
wait.
to
Bible don't
achieve
say
with
that
a
though. Jesus
yes.
wants us to help them regardless.
So let's pause for a moment. Okay, Christians passionate in the sense of we need to educate those that are on the sidelines depending on the government system and teach them new ways to help in society.
Exactly.
That's what he's saying, and we're saying, wait a minute, we're supposed to help regardless. And he's just trying to look to the future. We need to get them off the sidelines. Is what he's kind of getting at. Over.
Right.
I understand what he's saying, but I also understand that we are supposed to help and not be a crutch, but we are supposed to help regardless, but without expectation. We're supposed to help. The Lord calls us to help those. And I understand what he's saying. At some point, we do have to help ourselves. But regardless, we're supposed to help those in need. And that's what he's trying to say.
And
What
going back to the original comment from Amaro is community based. We need to start relying on food, local, vegetables and fruits. We need to have, build relationships with your farmers locally, your butchers for meat. You got to build these relationships now and have community meetings. You know, we're starting to push this literature out to the resiliency pillar, how, you know, what to do at the town and the county level. We're going to put this material out. But going back to Amaro real fast, this is your first time on town hall, and we're blessed that you came and experienced this. We've been doing this for 4 years. What did you think about your experience tonight?
It's been a fantastic experience to be able to share with you guys and learn so much from different viewpoints. And I would love to come back and be able to share more things. And again, the main point of my idea here was, again, it is getting back to our faith. We were never supposed to be always 100% dependent on the government. And I do agree on the Band-Aid solution with the SNAP is a Band-Aid to help people get
Yes,
back
I
on
agree
their
with that.
feet. So, but our commitment to our community, our commitment to our people is to what we're commanded by God to do is to help those that are in need. Now, if that person there, obviously everybody has a utility in life, right? And and in my experience, I go out and help the homeless. I go out but that's me wanting to do that. Nobody's forcing me to do that. But that's
Yes.
because we're part of a community. And as a godly person, as a kingdom builder, that is my calling, to go and help. That is why I'm running for office, so I can go and serve the community, not have the community serve me. As a godly person, I put everything, all my decisions to the Most High. So I love these discussions. I love the difference of ideas. Even though we're all conservatives, I'm not 100. I'm almost 99.9% aligned with everything President Trump is doing. But again, I disagree with some things he does. But that's what makes us Americans, right? We can disagree on 99% of everything, but that 1% we do agree, that makes us a community. And then at the end of the day, we come together as American. We could disagree on, like the pastor can disagree with Christian on certain aspects, but at the end of the day, we respectfully can come together and be a part of whether it's a digital community, whether it's an actual community, and be there for each other. So I really appreciate you guys having me on.
How did you find us?
Um, I I got an invite. Well, we connected on Facebook. It was by some type of divine appointment. And then I got messaged and then I was all like, I'm more than happy. I'm more than happy to be a part of this. And then here we are now. And
Welcome to the family, brother. Welcome to the
correct,
family. You're always here. You're always
correct.
here.
And I would love to participate more often and in these discussions, because I'm learning so much from Christian, from Victoria, from you and Ken. Ken is very passionate in what he says. And there's a lot of truth there. And has we learn more about this, about the history of our nation and all of the stuff that's going on, I agree with a lot of what he's saying, but at the same time I disagree with what he's saying. But I respect his passion. I respect the love for this nation, that he came from somewhere else and he put so much love for this nation to be a part of it. And that is what makes us American at the end, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
thank
Yes.
you for being here.
Thank you,
Yes,
Christian,
thank
sir.
you, Mr. Morrow. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So, guys, RedAmericaFirst.com. Sign up. We have 2 podcasts that run weekly. Monday nights is hashtag PastorsPoint. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday nights. And Dr. Gray and Wendy host that. And then Thursday night, it's Valerie Weis and Ashley Weis host Town Hall. That's usually 9 p.m. Eastern, but we have special guests that sneak in at 8 p.m. We start an hour early for big hitters, like, you know, maybe President Trump will come on at 8 o'clock, hypothetically. So we love you guys, and that's those that are watching the live stream, RedAmericaFirst.com. Sign up. We're going to go to Intel Round after hours, because we don't want to get strikes on YouTube saying things that they say is fake news. So we'll have to shut off the live stream. But again, we appreciate everybody. Amanda, go ahead. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I just have a question. maybe it's next week. Could we turn on the chat? Because like on, I get the kids ready for bed and stuff, and I don't want to disrupt the show, but I do want to interact and stuff as well. But sometimes I can only do that through the chat. And
Yeah,
like I
I
noticed
don't
the
know why.
comments are
I don't
disabled
know.
today.
I don't know why it's disabled. I'll have to look into it. But
Okay.
yeah, it should be on.
Okay.
Currently
Thank you.
disabled, but usually yes. And can I circle back around to the whole helping your neighbor thing real quick? Maybe bring some closure. Is that okay, gentlemen? So Leviticus 23:22. And I actually had a really long conversation with a mayoral candidate that I met with. The edges of their fields you leave for gleaning. And you're actually not, when you harvest, supposed to go,